Welcome to a special collaboration episode of the Hardcore Therapist and Pit Therapy Podcast. I'm Sarah, and today I'm teaming up with Kyle and Trevor from Pit Therapy Podcast to bring conversations that blend worlds of mental health, music, and resilience. Before we dive in, I want to make something clear. This episode is not a substitute for professional therapy. While self-help tools and open conversations like this can be powerful, they do not replace the need for professional mental health support when you need it. If you're struggling, I encourage you to reach out to a licensed therapist. Now let's get into it, because whether it's therapy with me or someone else or the mosh pit, healing happens when we face chaos, embrace journeys, and find meaning in the madness. Hey guys.
Hey.
Hello.
It's so good to be here with you. So as you know, on my podcast, I always want to know what got you into hardcore. So whoever wants to start, let's start with Trevor. What got you into hardcore?
We can start with me because mine's pretty short and quick. It was Kyle. Okay. Kyle got me into hardcore.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
For real, I was into pop punk and into ska music when I was 8 years old. I had a cousin who brought over Less Than Jake and Newfound Glory. Those were kind of my intros into alternative music. In 2000, I moved over into the neighborhood near Kyle, and we had a friend who had a shed out back, and we would go hang out in the shed. And he brought over Atreyu, Suicide Notes, and Butterfly Kisses. And he goes, these guys say the F word 3 times. I bet you can't figure out where they say it.
I love it.
And so our little 12-year-old brains were scrambling, and we come from Utah. We come from a conservative background, both of our families and stuff like that. And so hearing the F word and screaming was no, so
yeah, it's probably
exactly. So yeah, my intro into hardcore is legitimately Kyle.
All right, Kyle, what about you?
Yeah, I caused Trevor's downfall. It's all been my fault. So
my mom doesn't like him.
Your mom loves me. Come on.
She does.
So yeah, it's kind of funny when we talk about this because we literally have been friends for 20 years or more.
That's amazing.
Right? So he's we've grown up together and been through thick and thin together and stuff. So I moved away, and this has been really awesome to connect. But anyways, that's off topic. My family was always been super musical. My dad played in bands in college. I grew up with a very rock oriented family. I've seen Jethro Tull and Rush and some cool oldies like that. My mom's favorite band's Pink Floyd. I know all the words to Dark Side of the Moon. And
wow.
And so it was just natural in my family to kind of more alternative music. But I got into it because of my older brother, who's 4 years older than me.
Okay.
He introduced me to punk bands and, Bad Religion, all the good Rancid. I was listening to Anti-Flag, Black Flag, all the good stuff as a kid because of my older brother. But we started to get into some of the local post-hardcore stuff in Salt Lake City. And I was, 12, 13 years old going to these hardcore shows with my brother and watching people mosh. And I was just yeah, this is, this is for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it just kind of snowballed from there. And, it's just one of those things where you have to show your friends. And so I ran over to all my friends and we all listened to it, and we grew up together going to shows and beating each other up. It was a good time.
That's amazing. So, I think it's so interesting. I always talk about on my podcast, or just talk about it with people too. It's so cool how old friends can kind of bring new friends together. And that's why I thought it was an interesting idea to collaborate. I'm what the heck is pit therapy? I mean, I got it.
Yeah.
I always talk about how hardcore saves a lot of people's lives. Right. And if it wasn't for hardcore, I don't know if I would have become a therapist. So I really am interested to hear about your name and how you kind of came up with that, because I think it's important to know.
I mean,
I don't even know. Do you?
I'm kind of super embarrassed actually having a therapist with us who's therapist, and legitimately we were just throwing names back and forth, and it was just something with moshing, something with pits, and just reminiscing more than anything.
Yeah.
So,
And I think I had seen like a bunch of posts on Reddit where people always say like, the pit is
It's my therapy.
not therapy, and so I was just like, well, the premise of our podcast, because we've been in this scene for so long, that it was like we wanted to talk about nostalgia bands and what we grew up with and all this stuff, but we also wanted to kind of poke fun at it a little bit, because in this bubble of hardcore, it is kind of goofy when you really think about it, right? Like,
oh yeah.
And so that was the premise of our podcast, is like, let's talk about us growing up in this. We've been doing it for so long. Let's poke a little fun at it. And, people talking about the pit being your therapist, we're like, all right, let's do it. So,
well, I also think it's kind of funny. So we're both married. Our wives are friends. And like when Kyle comes to town, I'll get like all of our high school buddies. There's like 6, 7 of us who still get together and everything. And
Yeah.
when they come over, our wives are like, all you do is say the same concert stories over and over and over. Like, it's just what we do. It's like an annual tradition. And it's therapeutic. It's like, it's the reminiscing, it's the bringing up old memories and all that kind of stuff. So talking about nostalgia bands, it kind of made sense for us to be like, this was our therapeutic way of conversing with each other and like just talking and reminiscing. And that it just kind of came together naturally from that. Like I said, I'm embarrassed having a therapist now.
Oh, don't be embarrassed, because I mean, honestly, I don't know if you ever heard the story of like why I became the hardcore therapist. Did you hear this? Did you hear
Sure,
this?
please
yeah,
share.
yeah.
Okay, so Raghunath Ray Capo, he does a podcast called Wisdom of the Sages, and I used to be on it every morning. And he would be like, "Oh, it's Sarah Kuretzky, the hardcore therapist," like kind of joking around. And I was friendly with him and Paramananda Purcell, and like Purcell is like the hardcore yogi. So I like called Purcell and I was like, what do you think about if I used the hardcore therapist? Like, I want to do this podcast. I want this to kind of be the name of my business. Are you cool with that? And he was like, number one, I don't know the name, the hardcore. Sarah. It's like the first thing. And the second thing was like, he's like, that's super rad. So that's kind of how it became. But like, the reason why I wanted to do more stuff around hardcore as a therapist was I just feel like it's something missing from our scene, right? Like, we you don't get into hardcore, in my opinion, unless there's something that kind of maybe fucked you up a little bit to get you into hardcore, right?
Yeah.
Mine is Kyle.
Sorry, Mom. I'm very sorry, Trevor's mom, if you're listening. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's just something, and there's something that like keeps you in and keeps you connected to it. Even like, I mean, I'm old, so like this kept me connected since like for 35 years, 40 years, a long time. I don't know, about 40 years since I first started going to shows, and so like there was something that was there, and there's something that I feel like is missing, and so I wanted to be able to give that service to people. So that's kind of I got my name.
Greatly appreciated. And the episodes I have listened to you, there's been a couple where you've talked about setting up your booth, and forgive me, I'm straight edge. Like, I don't know all the terminology and stuff like that, but you hand out test kits and stuff for like all of that kind of stuff. And then you do like, explain what you do when you go to a show, when you set up your booth. Sure. I don't need to explain your stuff.
No. So it's super cool. So I've also, and I'm also straight edge. Like I've been straight edge my whole life, right? Pretty much. I mean, I've definitely did some drinking when I was in high school and stuff, but like once I realized I'm like, this is not for me. Straight edge is my life. Straight edge has been my life. But what I found was, at least in the Detroit community, there were so many people I was going to say we're either straight edge, just like two of us here. It's either me or an Eric Z. No, I'm just kidding. There was very few people who were straight edge, but people were like really into hard drugs and alcohol in Detroit. And so substance use became one of my areas of interest when I was, getting my degree. And so what I do is I do Narcan. I give out Narcan for free. So Narcan is like if someone's having a, overdose of heroin, but I also give out testing kits and testing strips to make sure that there's not fentanyl in your drugs, because as much as I want everyone to be straight edge, I also know that's not possible. And I also know people do dumb shit in the bathroom at shows. And if I can help make it safer, I also teach about harm reduction. I'm also working on creating sober spaces for people who are like newly sober at festivals and stuff like that, because I think that's important too. Or even for artists. You know, there's a lot of artists who have struggled within our community with drugs and alcohol also. And just knowing that there's someone there who can like talk them through it, work with them, you know, and I'm a proud member of Al-Anon. So like I'm absolutely know about 12 steps and going through all that. So yeah. So I do a lot
That's
of
awesome.
education. Yeah. I have some new stuff going on though. So
What
with
do you
that,
have going on? I'm curious now.
I'm partnering with New Age Records.
Are you really?
Yeah. So Mike and I are buds, and we're doing a partnership. And so New Age and hardcore therapists will be together when at festivals and stuff like that. So
That's incredible. We
yeah.
love New Age.
Yeah.
So
We love New Age too.
you had Darasum on, their
Yeah.
New Age. But
Yes.
our good buddy Josh, who started the podcast with us and is typically on, he's in a band called Crow Killer. Their last album was off of New Age as well. Our intro is a Crow Killer song.
Yes.
Here's the
So-
New Age connection.
So, you
Just
know,
don't
I
tell
love
them that
the
we're
New Age
using it, though.
connection. What? I'm sorry.
Just don't tell them that we're using it, because Josh gave us permission, you know. But,
Well, I'm sure Mike will hear this. But
View.
I should make sure I have Josh on, because tomorrow I'm interviewing someone from Rust, and like
Oh,
you know,
sick.
yeah. So I have like people like my goal is every month to have a New Age band on my
cool.
podcast. So
Awesome.
yeah,
That's cool. That's commendable, and it's, you know, like you said, it's I think it's needed in the scene, and you know, like we've been straight edge for a while and stuff, but it doesn't take away the fact that if people are going to do it, they should do it responsibly.
yeah.
And you can be an ally to that, believing what you believe
For
in.
sure.
Too, so.
Well, I think that's like how straight edge like people should be. Is like we can't like just be militant, right?
Yeah.
Militant. And I mean, and I know like from stories I know, I've actually never been to Salt Lake, but I know that straight edge, like the straight edge scene was pretty militant in Salt Lake.
It was pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
It was a little bit before our time. I mean, even
know,
when
like,
we were, yeah. Like we grew up hearing the stories, and then we had some stuff happening, like, but it was like teenager stuff. Like it almost felt like, I mean, they got pretty violent, right? But it almost felt like rival high schools at times that would just come together and fight in the parking lot. But yeah, it's interesting.
It is interesting, but I do think like that was like, and I think that was a thing even like the 90s. So like, I mean, I started going to shows in the 80s, but like in the 90s, like straight edge was like, everyone thought was just like militant straight edge, militant vegan, militant. We were just militant. And, you know, that was another thing, was like, it was always really important to me, is like, I am straight edge and I believe in it. And I'm grateful every day that that's the life that I chose for me. But, you know, I had lots of friends who weren't, and lots of people in my life who weren't. And like, I'm not gonna, you know, dog them just for doing what they do. It's their choice. But, you know, if they know that they have someone that could be responsible and help them out and help them make changes, I'm like all about that.
Yeah. I just think a lot of it's a product of situations too, right? Like, you know, we grew up in, like Trevor said, in Utah. It's a very conservative area. Like people rebelled really hard, and like you saw them go like way off the other side of it. And, you know, you didn't want to go down that path. But at the same time, like a lot of people we were around didn't drink and didn't smoke and stuff, but they always had this attitude of like looking down on people that listen to this music. I don't know. It's like a very unique situation in Utah because it's very conservative and Christian, but you just don't know where people come from.
I mean, is it Mormon? Like, did you all grow up Mormon, or did you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
Did.
Is there?
No.
No, you're fine. We did. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, we don't, we're not going to shy away from any of it. It's fine. But it's really interesting that like, even in places like that, like you need an outlet. Like we found an outlet, and we found like, we all still went through our own stuff, but like people are going to handle it in different ways. And you shouldn't judge someone because they didn't have a friend group like we did. Of 8 guys that didn't do that stuff, that always had each other's backs and helped each other out of stuff. A lot of people don't have that, and they turn to groups that might do stuff that screws them up later. And
Yeah.
and they just want to get out of it now,
Well, I've heard, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard there's a pretty heavy drug issue in Utah. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, right? Coming
yeah,
from such a conservative state, what Kyle said is people look for an outlet one way or another. Like they lean heavy into the religion and they look down on others,
hmm
or they go opposite, they rebel against the religion, and that form takes drug use, drug abuse, all that kind of stuff. Or in our case, heavy ass music, right? So, like there's different ways to go about it. But yeah, I mean, like
they're
Utah,
Mormon straight edge bands. Like, are there like Mormon, like Mormon based, like like a
Maybe.
Christian punk or hardcore band? Like,
I mean, there are Mormons in hardcore bands. We'll put it that way. I don't know if there's any who are like, "Hey, we are going to go promote the LDS faith while screaming lyrics at people."
right, like Krishna core, right? Like
Yeah.
this is, I'm just trying to make this parallel here.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
no,
no,
like, so
100%.
we 100% grew up like with an attachment to Christian hardcore. And it was really cool because, like, again, like I don't think we would have ever gotten involved into a space like this if we didn't have some way to find, like you said, some form of an attachment to this music, and like we both had our issues, like in our home lives. Like I didn't have the best home life and stuff. So I found a place where I could release angst and anger as a teenager that I felt at the moment was relatively healthy. Looking back on it, I don't know. Like you said, Salt Lake got pretty aggressive, and maybe we should have backed off a little bit. But if it wasn't for like some type of like pathway into Christian hardcore, I would have never been introduced to all the rest of hardcore. And even if it's not Christian, it still meant something to me, right? Like, bands like Have Heart, like that's such a positive message that resonates with people going through any issue. You know what I mean?
For
So,
sure.
yeah.
I just got a new Have Heart shirt today from Bridge 9. I'm
Oh,
so
sick.
excited.
Yeah. So, but no, like even down in Dallas, all these people talk about, like, I grew up in, super conservative Christian homes. They only let me go to shows that were at the church, and, it happened to be Living Sacrifice or Sleeping Giant that was playing. And, that's your intro into a new world that, like, to me, opened my eyes to this larger culture that wasn't the bubble Utah was. Like,
Yeah.
I started learning stuff about like animal rights. I learned about, inclusion in the scenes with like the LGBTQ community. You learn about all the stuff that I would have never come in contact with in the world that I grew up in.
Do you think, like this, I'm like all like, do you think that your background in the Mormon community and hardcore affects how you parent? Because I know we're all parents here.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, 100%, right? It's hard to walk the line of a religious background and the openness of the hardcore community. Like
Yeah.
it really is. I have such like a deep attachment to hardcore and what it stands for, of inclusion, of making sure that everyone's supported. Like, yes, we go and we fight each other, we punch each other and stuff like that. That doesn't mean I don't want you there.
Yeah.
Like there's all this stuff. And so like raising my kids, it's hard to walk that line and that balance and all that kind of stuff where they're like, hey, culturally here, this is what's being said versus what we are saying based off of like our hardcore background, our hardcore beliefs and everything. So yeah, it is interesting. It's a weird dynamic. Very much a lot of stuff parallels, but then there are very, very strict differences.
Ideologies, for sure.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good lesson to teach my kids anyways. Right. And I think that's been one of the most important things, is especially moving out of Utah. 'Cause in Dallas, there's every culture you can imagine. And so being a part of a scene that taught me inclusion, acceptance, but also part of a scene that taught me like respect to stuff, to where like, if you don't respect it, you better be ready to handle it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because in hardcore, like you run your mouth, like,
you better be ready to
be
back
ready.
up.
Yeah. And so like, I do think it teaches you like, to be accepted, but when someone crosses a line, like stand your ground. And I think that's a good lesson for my kids to learn. And also even just musically, the fact that like, they see videos of me stage diving and stuff, and that this is like a community. It's more than just a sound. And, my kid will come up and ask, hey, what's this guy singing about? And I could explain to him about like, war complexes. And I try to dumb it down for a 9-year-old to understand. But I think it's good to like, look, there's more to life and to learn than just this little bubble of a home that we try to protect you in.
Yeah.
And hardcore is enabled me to do that. I don't know if that's cheesy or what, but like, it really does make me feel that way. So.
Why is that cheesy if it's something you believe in? And absolutely not cheesy. Own your stuff.
Yeah, we listen to a lot of caveman. I mean, lyrics, and so at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I don't want to think too much about it.
No, I mean, I got it. But I do think, obviously, like, I'm Krishna conscious. So obviously, Krishna core played a huge influence in my life. I mean, I didn't really learn about Krishna other than I thought it was like just like from Airplane, that movie, and right?
Yeah.
Or like a cult until, because I didn't grow up Krishna conscious until I saw Shelter in 108, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
So it really changed my life.
So how is that kind of affected you? I mean, we talk a little bit about like our religion and that stuff like that, but how has that kind of guided you to where you're at now?
Yeah, so I grew up Jewish, so I'm just gonna like put it out there. I grew up Jewish, and like I was always like a seeker, and I feel like that's such a like a I don't know. You want to talk about feeling lame by saying that word? I feel lame saying that word. Not like hoity-toity, but when I was a kid, my parents were like, "Oh, you don't have to go to Hebrew school because you're a girl. You don't have to have a bat mitzvah." Like I was one of the first girls where I was. This temple shul. It's called a shul. Like where I grew up to have a bat mitzvah. But I really wanted to go. And my parents would always be like, "Oh, you want to go because your older brother's going." But like, I really wanted to go. And it wasn't like I was very interested in hearing about the Bible. Like it's always been my thing. Like I'm just super interested in it. And, I just felt like I always had like this really strong connection with God. And, growing up, I really was trying to figure out what that meant and what that looked like throughout my life. So like I was like Shomer Shabbos is like so it's like not Orthodox, but I was like close in Judaism, like in my 20s, because I had this really cool rabbi say to me, before you explore other religions, you really need to get to know your own. I thought that was rad, right? So like I spent some time, and I like for like a year, like every Saturday I was with his family, and I would have like lunch with them and spend time with them, and it was really cool. And then my first husband, my children's dad, like I don't know, he's great, but he's also Jewish, and he was like, I have to marry someone Jewish, and I didn't really think that way. I really was like, I can marry anyone as long as you have a relationship with God. I'm cool, right? Like that was kind of my thing. But he wasn't like that. He was like, I have to marry someone Jewish. So we got married, but he didn't really want to practice Judaism or know anything about Judaism. It was more of a cultural thing for him. And I really strayed away from religion, and I really felt like I lost who I was. And I should say, so this rabbi who said that's like, he knew I was interested in Christian consciousness and things like that. And that was like I was in Chicago at the time, so I just started graduate school. So I was like 22. So he knew I was already interested. And then I came back to it. One of my friends, his name's Collab, and he's like a Detroit area, like hardcore kid. And he's not a kid. It's like we were in our 40s. But
Ever hardcore kids. Everyone's a hardcore kid.
Hardcore kids. And just, had me start thinking about things, asked me questions, and it was really cool. And then, like all these things started happening. Like I met my husband on Instagram, which is hilarious to say. He lives in Oregon, and I didn't know he was practicing Christian consciousness for years and years and years. And like, he wanted to be in a spiritual marriage, and I wanted to be in a spiritual marriage, but we didn't like know this. We just somehow got brought together, and then it just kind of snowballed into this whole thing. And then in November, I actually got initiated by Krishna Das from Invocation. We have the same guru. And it's really cool. And you know what? I'm still Jewish, right? Like I still I'm like I am, but I'm Krishna conscious. And I just believe that God is God. And like, if you have a relationship with God, cool. And I think it influences me just to be more tolerant with everybody.
Yeah.
To be honest. And that's what I try to teach my kids is like, the idea in life is to be tolerant and a good human. It's not to be, this is the way it is. And if you're not this way, you're wrong. And, I have adult children, so I feel like they're doing it. So it's kind of cool.
It's funny that you're saying all of that because like the alignment of, and I'm not saying that you have to be religious to have that mentality, right? To be a good person or whatever, but the alignment of religion and hardcore in, again, being inclusive, being accepting, all of that kind of stuff. It's amazing how much it like just goes hand in hand. Like hardcore's a religion, right? At this point, like it is what it is.
I mean, in Texas, isn't football a religion? That's what they always
Basically.
Yeah, but I'm in Dallas and it's the Cowboys and
say. Right.
it's all
I
right.
mean, well, my oldest son played college football and played football his whole life. And my younger
Cool.
son played football with him too. And like football kind of ended up becoming our religion for a while. And that's when I really knew I lost myself, when I was like, I'm doing nothing but working in football.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you talk about that, even just with everything going on like politically and stuff. And we don't have to, like get into politics, but we've kind of taken a step back and reassessed, kind of how we're living. A lot of these boycotts that are going on with companies, we've tried to like participate in some of them, and you just start to realize like you've kind of lost yourself to this like mundane grind of consumerism. And you would like to think that you're apart from like the advertisement targeting and all this stuff, but you're really not. And this has been like, it's been a hard time, but it's also been a good time to step back and be like, you know what? Like a lot of this stuff matters, but it doesn't matter.
For sure.
Like within these walls is what matters. And we don't need all the rest of this stuff. We have this. And those again are kind of principles of hardcore in the communities. It's like, I go to a show in a basement and it's one of the most memorable things I can think of. I don't have to be at 1,000-person stadium, So it does.
I do. And I think it's just a really cool thing that you really connect, right? So like, again, I'm just going to talk about Christian consciousness for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Like kirtan, like, kirtan, like with, like people like chanting and playing instruments. Mm-hmm. Like that is really what got me into Krishna consciousness, right? Like it was like the coolest thing to see people like just being so connected. Like kirtan felt like a hardcore show. Like a good kirtan feels like a hardcore show. Like people are going off. And I love that. I love that and need that in my life. Even if I can't handle it anymore.
Music's in all religions. Like there's not a religion out there where music's not involved in. So it's something that binds everyone together. It brings us together, right? Like you just said, being Krishna conscious and the kirtan, that's a bigger, more expressive version of music than a lot of religions, right? Yeah. But music's in everything. And people all the time say like spirituality comes from religion and can invoke spirituality and all that stuff. So dude, absolutely.
I have this friend down here that says that when they go on road trips, they don't listen to anything. I'm just like, what? What do you do in the car? Like, what are you doing if you're not listening to music? It's crazy.
That is crazy. The only time I don't listen to anything is when I am driving to work because I need to get into the correct headspace.
True.
And then when I come home, if I usually work from home, but if I'm working in the office, when I'm coming home, like yesterday, I worked like 10 hours. I saw 10 hours of clients straight. I think I was telling you that.
Yeah.
I just couldn't listen to anything at all. So it's the only time. But yeah, like on a road trip, if I'm not listening to music or at least a book or something, I mean, I don't know how you live.
Yeah,
for real.
Seriously.
Right.
So just to get a little, I just want to ask you a little more about like the therapy standpoint of this, because I've talked to a lot of people about it, especially people at work, when they like find out what I'm into and what I do. And I actually just broke my finger at a Comeback Kids show.
Oh no.
3 weeks ago. And so everyone at my work makes fun of me.
Fine.
Yeah, I'm fine now. Also like, we went to Furnace Fest last year, and I made it on the front page of Furnace Fest's social media because I was climbing on top of people for Under Oath, and the guy took a really cool picture. But anyways, I had customers at work that saw that picture on their own and like were telling me about it. So anyways, like I talked to these people about it, and they're always like, are you okay? Like, how can you do that? And I try to explain to them, like, I get hurt, but what's the difference if I get hurt playing football or playing basketball? Like, how's this different? It's a release of emotion. And, we get into these discussions about, men and how this movement of being able to express yourself, but people are not okay if that expression is anger. And I kind of don't like that. So from a therapy standpoint with hardcore, especially around the anger aspect, how do you see that? Is that valid? Do you think men have a space? Is this actually a healthy space for us to be doing this?
100% it's a healthy space. That is a great question. But 100% it's a healthy space because you are getting aggression out and you are not, I mean, I don't know, like crowd killing is something I'm still trying to figure out why that happens. But I don't know, like when you're piling on top of people and you're screaming lyrics, like that is such a cathartic thing. And I think anger is such an important emotion that I think men need to express anger, and they are unable to now because they're not supposed to. It's not politically correct. I hate saying that, but it doesn't seem like it is. And I think it's important to do that, and it's healthy. First of all, everyone should be expressing anger in some sort of way. Like it's a super healthy emotion. And the more we repress it, the more anxious we become and more depressed we become. There's a ton of studies on that. I used to refer to myself as like, I was the happiest angry girl that you would ever meet. Because I'm always like, yay, and smiley and stuff, like, like I'm kind of like a Labrador retriever, but like, I have stuff, right? I have stuff that I have to get out, and hardcore allows me to do that. And I think it's so good. So I feel like I really long-winded that, but yeah, I think it's super healthy. And whatever other emotions that need to come out, like, I don't know. I've cried at a hardcore show, and I'm not saying like I got sad about something, but I was so emotionally moved by hearing a song live or being a part of something. And, like, I know I'm a crier. My husband will tell you that all day, but like I do think like it's important to express any emotion that you have, happiness, love. Like, I don't know. There's so much love at a hardcore show. Like how much hugging that happens at a hardcore show, right?
I mean, I'm a big hugger. That's one of my favorite things about going to a show is getting to hug like 12 people. You know what I mean?
For sure.
How come you never hugged me?
I hug you every time I see you. Don't start with that.
All right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope I answered that. I mean, if you feel like you need more from me.
That's exactly what I was looking for. And that's the mentality that I've had with it. But it is interesting. You look at a lot of the issues. I think about this with my 9-year-old son about the differences of, being a boy growing up in society compared to even before us. Cause when we were going through school, it was still, any fight, you're both suspended.
Right.
Doesn't matter who started. And I just, I think about kids that have all this anger and you're punished for expressing it and there's nowhere to do it. If you don't play sports, there's nowhere for you to go to do that.
Yeah. My son, his name's Jacob. My son, Jacob, the one that he's 24, who played college football. He had a lot of anger, like for sure. Like he got into fights and I don't know. Like, I mean, like he had his stuff and football saved his life, right? Yeah. Just like hardcore. He's not interested in hardcore. That kid likes like, I don't know, like electronic music.
All right.
It's like, I'm all like, he's talking to me about it. I'm like, oh my God. No. But it's funny because like, he's like, this person? I'm like, oh yeah, I actually hung out with him when we were kids. He was like, oh my God, you're the coolest. But yeah, but I mean, he needed that outlet. And you're right. If you don't have sports, and I always like, cause I taught for a really long time, like for 27 years,
okay.
A minute.
Yeah, that's a little bit.
Yeah. And I always was so flabbergasted by people not allowing kids to have emotions. And,
Yeah.
you know, I was explaining it to someone earlier, one of my clients, like, you know how like you have little kids, you know how like when toddlers, like when they have a tantrum and they lie on the floor, they're
Yeah.
lying on the floor after they have their big tantrum and they just lie there and you're like, get up. And it could be like in the middle of like a grocery store and you're like, they're actually trying to ground and self-regulate. Like they are actually doing exactly what they should be doing because they are trying to get their body to stop having
Yeah.
so much energy, whatever that might be. And I think it's the same thing with anger. If we don't let kids get that out, they're going to just not be able to regulate.
Yeah.
Kyle's really trying to justify why he spends as much money as he does on concerts instead of actual therapy. So,
I mean,
Look,
I get it. I get it. I travel for hardcore, so I get it.
yeah. No, I mean, it is really interesting speaking to you because I do think it's important that, we as a society push this idea of mental health and getting help, and it's okay. But it still doesn't seem like enough people do it.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I
I've
also
got my baggage, I've got my issues, I've got an amazing wife, but it's not fair for me to trauma dump on her, right? Like
right.
it's time to get actual help. Like Trevor jokes about that, but like seriously, like I think it, like we all are very mental health positive, but I don't think enough of us really take the step too. So
I appreciate that. I do think though, like some of the things that happen, like I just got an email from a person who's interested in looking for a new therapist. And they said, I go to a therapist, this is what they do. They want to like focus on my childhood and then I'm out. And I think that there's like, and I don't know if it comes from a teaching background, but like that there is not a one size fits all therapy out there. And that was another reason why I wanted to come within the community. I'm not for everybody. Like I
yeah.
get it. I hate when people don't love me, but like I get it. I understand why I might not work for somebody, but I also think like if someone needs something specific, like I have a client right now who has chronic pain and she asked about the specific kind of therapy. I'm like, I don't know enough about it. I can do this free 1 hour training. Let me find out if this is something that works for me. Like I'm like a pivoter. I will like go and try other things. There's just that's the thing when you're looking for a therapist is finding someone who's willing to work for you.
Yeah.
Not you
that's
work for
great.
them.
Yeah. That's great. So I was recently listening to, I think it was just your last episode, Overcoming the Self-Abandonment one. And you were talking about self-help coping mechanisms. I believe that's the episode that I was listening
Like,
to.
yeah, so like was it the like stop over self-helping yourself?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. But like, I'm actually curious, right? Because honestly, my self-help coping mechanism is hardcore. It's music.
Yeah.
Like it's driving around and blasting something. It's looking for new bands. It's doing things that are involved in that scene. What are some if let me ask you this way. And again, this isn't for everyone, right?
Right.
But if someone's heavily involved in music, what are some of those potential like mechanisms that people could be potentially trying? And again, you've made the disclaimer at the first of this. Everyone should go and seek help if they feel like they need help. But what are just like, if you're involved in music, what are some of those things that you've seen be helpful for people who enjoy it?
Um, I think being around like-minded people is super important. I'm a big fan of like group therapy and group like coaching and all of that kind of stuff because if you have people who because then it's like the therapist isn't the sage on stage, right?
Mm,
Like I'm not always all knowing. You know yourself better than I know you, right? So like having a group of people who can kind of talk about their different things, I'm a big fan of that. I think that really works really well within our community. I also think besides music, like, um, there's a straight edge running club. Like, I do think like physical activity
yeah.
is a super important part of mental health. I can't even tell you how many people are always like, well, what do you do to like relax and chill out? I'm like, I lift heavy shit. That's what I do. Like just like I really want to lift heavy stuff. I need to move, right? It's a big important thing for me. But I think it just, again, that's like a really individualized thing, and finding it, because like I have a client that I work with who is in the music industry, and writing and talking about it is a really helpful thing. I have someone else who's in the music industry who drawing. So I do a lot of art there. I was an art teacher for a long time. So I do a lot of art therapy with people too. So I think it just depends on like what you're drawn to, if you will, what to help you and to help you cope, because it could be completely different than like what I need. Like I need to lift heavy stuff. Like,
That's fair. Yeah.
But like maybe writing, maybe reading, maybe meditation. Like there's a lot of people in the hardcore scene who do a lot of meditation.
What about deflecting with super awkward jokes? Is that okay?
I mean, there's a lot of people.
I'm asking for a friend. All right. I'm
I'm gonna phone a friend and ask. Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, people do that. I mean, self-deprecating humor is a great way to deal with things really healthfully.
You hear that, Trevor? I'm super mentally healthy.
You haven't heard the jokes.
I don't want to hear you say anything again. So
I mean, I do it too, and I think that there's a place for that as well. But knowing if it's starting to kind of like overtake, like, and you start believing those kind of self-deprecating jokes too, is when it's funny. It's like, maybe I shouldn't be doing so much of this.
Yeah. I've got one more question for you in terms of like therapy related stuff.
I love this.
Listen, like I'm going to let you into my weird little mind right now. So feel free to psychoanalyze the best way possible. Is it weird that I already have songs planned out for traumatic events in my life?
I mean, doesn't everybody?
But I'm saying like, I know the song that I'm going to turn to when my dad dies. Like I have a song like already planned for an event that has not happened.
I mean, I get that. I mean, future casting is not the most healthy coping mechanism, but I do think that having things that you can kind of lean on. So if it is music, like, do you know the song "Character" by Falling Forward? Oh my god! Oh my god! Look it up.
Character Falling Forward.
Yeah, Louisville hardcore. Something y'all missed when you were youngins there.
We've missed a lot of stuff. So
yeah, so like that's a song when I am feeling a little moody, sad, I will like lean on that song. Like that will be like my song, right? Like,
there you go.
Like that is it. There's definitely certain things. If I need to get like pumped or in a better mood, there's totally music that I'll listen to. If I just kind of want to wallow, right? Like I'm a little emo sometimes. There's certain things I'll listen to, and I think that's okay.
Yeah. And I have all of that, but I'm like, my dad's going to die and his birthday's in November. And this song talks about someone passing away in November. I'm going to listen to this song when my dad dies. Like,
God, I think maybe you should talk to someone about that.
Whip out the card, Trevor. Start paying now, dude. We can.
Yeah, how much does this section cost?
I'm just waiting for her to say, "Sorry, man. No one can help you with that." But
Yeah. I believe I can help everyone. If I'm going to be honest with you, no way. That's hilarious.
Yeah, okay. I don't know how we recover from this one.
Trevor asked the craziest question. I didn't know what to do with that.
The best part is this is
I told you it was weird.
Is your dad's not ill, is he?
Oh no, he's totally fine. He's healthy. I see him like 3 times a week. He's good.
Okay.
Holy cow.
Why don't you put that song away for a little while?
Hold on though. Like, how deep does this go, Trevor? Is this like, do you have like gorecore songs for like if you get hemorrhoids or something? Like, how much are you prepping for? Like, that's what I want to know.
I'm not mutilating bodies. I don't have my Cannibal Corpse thing. Like, I do avoid gorecore. Like, but no. I just listen, I've got a couple of those. Like, I don't know. I'm like, this would be perfect when that happens. Like, I'm going to lean into this.
You should think of the songs that are going to make you enjoy your dad while he's alive.
Oh, there's plenty of those. There's plenty of those. But on the off chance he dies, I don't want to have to go searching for the song. I just want to have it ready.
If it's like, does it change if it's like a car accident or
Oh my God, okay, I have a question. Unless you have more questions.
We can move on.
I want to know what your like guilty pleasure music is, and it doesn't have to be hardcore or pop punk or whatever. Like, I just want to know like something that you like put on the car and you are like going off when you hear it.
Kyle?
Well, this is like we have a friend, Chris Nichols, that jumps on and talks with us a lot. And he says that he does not have guilty pleasures. He just has pleasures. He says his music taste is like a snowball. It just gets bigger and bigger as it goes along. I kind of like that take because I'm not embarrassed by guilty pleasures, but
no, for sure.
I will listen the crap out of like Alicia Keys as much as I can. She's incredible. So that's
the most beautiful voice.
Yeah. So there's like some old, like mid 2000s R&B type stuff that like me and my wife will put on and like it's game over. So
I love that. I'm a big R&B fan myself.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
There is probably some stuff in high school that we listened to that probably shouldn't be named, right? We can talk about it. We can talk about offline. But
what would not be okay to talk about after the last stuff you were just saying? So.
I think that one kind of took it right there.
We listened to a lot of Gunter.
Oh, we did. Okay.
I don't know if you know who Gunter is.
You know that?
I don't know who Gunter is, but you're just when we got Kyle going, okay.
I think his most famous song is called the Ding Dong Song.
So we have very immature sense of humor, if you can't tell. But so we have some of that stuff, but then like the stuff that everyone craps on these days, like Attack. I love Attack. Give me some screaming with some EDM backgrounds and they're white kids rapping at the first of the album. I'm all good.
I love that. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So my wife is like, she's a couple years younger than me. So we grew up around the same music, but she is Latina.
Yeah.
And so we listen to a lot of Latin music, but she is huge into like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and all that stuff. Right. And so like my kids, like we'll listen to that. We'll go from listening to like something pretty heavy with me to right into Backstreet Boys. And we're singing all the words. And it's like, it's cool to see my kids get interested in that kind of music too. Cause it's, I mean, not a lot of people like it anymore, but
not a lot of people want to admit that they like it, which I think, goes with what your friend Chris was saying. Like you're not embarrassed of it, right? People have a hard time saying that they do like it. I think that's cool.
We've said so many times that if you only listen to hardcore, like
there's something wrong.
There's something wrong, right? You expand a little bit, like I'm a big reggae fan. I listen to country, like why not?
I listen to country. My daughter loves country music, so I've listened to a lot of country with her. I took her to a country concert. It was like a big deal. I had never been to one. I'm like, nice. I don't like this.
There's no stage diving. So who are your guilty pleasures then?
What?
Who are your guilty pleasures then?
I mean, I really love old music. So like when I was a little kid, my parents were super into Motown, so it's not like a guilty pleasure as liking Motown. But my mom, I think if she wasn't married when she was young, like she got married when she was 20, that's I guess pretty young. I mean that, and I guess 67, but she like loved Three Dog Night, this band Three Dog Night. Yeah. And she loved the Guess Who.
Nice.
The Burton Cummings, like she took me when I was like 3, and I remember going to see Three Dog Night. Like somehow she found out, like this is some groupie shit. Like she found out that they were playing baseball at this high school. Like they were hanging out there. I don't know. And we went, and then we went to the concert. Like I went to the concert when I was like 3 years old to see Three Dog Night.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
one is like a classic song.
Classic
Like
song.
straight up. Yeah, that's awesome.
I also really love Bob Seger, and I don't know if it's because he's from Detroit.
Cool.
But I do. So yeah, like I just like I kind of like everything. Like when I was a kid, when I got into like punk and hardcore and stuff, I would be like, oh, Michael Jackson, and like because all the kids liked Michael Jackson and like Prince. I'd be like,
Yeah.
absolutely not. And I'm like,
Yeah.
now I'm like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to listen to everything. Country, I was like, I wasn't gonna listen to because I was like, I just can't get down with this. But my daughter, her name is Layla. My daughter is like super into country, and like she likes to drive me around. I don't know why. I'm her passenger princess, and she is constantly playing country. So I listen to a lot of country now.
There's real solid country coming out right now. There's good stuff. So.
Yeah. We grew up listening to a lot of like modern American folk music. And so like what Kyle's saying with that current country, there's a lot of crossover. A lot of it's getting like really close to that folk music we listen to, the Dustin Kensrues, the Rocky Votolados. Like it's getting really. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dustin Kensrue's the vocalist for Thrice. So he did a solo project, and it's just some
folky.
like, yeah, folky Americana kind of thing. And then Rocky Votolato was originally, again, a punk band back in the day called Waxwing. Listen, what you just said, growing up, it was like if it wasn't associated somehow, we didn't like it. So like it was like we'll listen to the folk music that the hardcore kids are playing. Like we're good with that.
Totally. I totally got that. I feel like did you have like were you like able to eat like lots of snack foods and stuff when you were kids? Like
I had zero parental supervision, so I'm lucky that I'm still alive. So
what was a snack food that you would eat that you would never put in your mouth again when you were a kid?
Well, you're assuming that I'm not going to eat it. Yeah, you're assuming that I'm not going to still eat it now. So I will put down a whole bag of sour cream and onion Lay's potato chips. Like a whole bag, a family size one. No problem.
Was that your like thing though when you were a kid?
Yeah.
You're a chip guy.
I was a chip guy. It doesn't matter the flavor of chip. I'll eat it.
Okay.
Fried, baked, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's all good.
I don't know if there's much from when I was younger I wouldn't eat today. I've always had a pretty picky palate, but my weird one is I love cheese even to this day. And my mom always tells the story of I used to take the blocks of cheese, hide them under my bed, and she would find them gnawed like cheese, gnawed like a little mouse, and I'd hide under the bed. And then in addition to that, I took kitchen knives and I cut my box spring. I used to hide kitchen knives in the bottom of my box spring. You're literally all sorts of stuff about me today.
We're unpacking Trevor's childhood, man.
I know.
Who is this kid?
I'm like, after this episode, we should maybe do a contribution. I don't know.
You're like, it's you could just delete this if you want to. Like, I'm not posting that.
What was it from the Santa Claus, the movie where Tim Allen's talking to Neil, the therapist? He's like, gives him his card. He's like, you should call my office. That's what she's doing right now. She's like, Trevor, we should talk, man.
Only if you want to.
Jeez, you know what? Like I'll play this episode for my wife and we'll see what she says, right?
Like cheddar cheese, American cheese, like what? Did you have a cheese?
Yeah, like what kind of cheese?
Colby Jack, man. Colby Jack is the only kind. It's a little bit soft. It has that kind of mild taste. Like, come on, man. It's Colby Jack or nothing.
Oh my goodness.
All right. What about you, Sarah?
I really loved Hostess products when I was a little kid. So like those like the Hostess apple pies.
Oh yeah.
I could like throw down hard on those. And I mean, obviously I'm not eating those now. There's like lard in it or something. But like
listen, you're better than we are. So
I don't eat meat. So but I mean like it's like there was definitely like I was a sweet. That's why I was like, oh, are you a salty? Like, are you a chip guy? Because I would never put it like chips were not my thing at all. Because I also have a picky palate. But
anything savory, like I'll put down a whole bag of sunflower seeds in one sitting, and it's bad because like I balloon up because it's so
salty.
It's so much sodium.
Yeah.
I miss Peeps.
That is my wife's like So my wife has the weirdest palate. Okay, she loves Peeps, but she loves those. Have you seen those circus peanuts? They're like the
Yes,
oh,
I
yeah.
also like circus peanuts. I mean, I don't eat them anymore, but
they
I
are
did.
straight cardboard.
I
They're
know.
terrible, and
They're,
she eats them by the dozens when she can get her hands on them.
these are the things that I worry about in life are like your things. Okay. What are your things that you do to distress besides hardcore with your busy families and lives?
It's hard.
You
It's
have lots
hard.
of and they're
Got
little.
got lots of kids, lots of activities. So most of it is going around with them and chauffeuring them around. I've got, like I said, so I live 15 minutes from where I grew up, and a good majority of our friends still live in the area. So I have like a basketball group. I'll go play basketball. I still play sports. Running, I do enjoy running and stuff like that, which I have not ran since the baby was born. So that's not good. Um, but I watch a lot of TV. I binge shows. Like that's my wife and I, kids down, 2 episodes of Wheel of Time right now. Hits a sweet spot.
All right. What about you, Kyle?
Yeah. Just kind of depends. I like to get outside as much as I can. So, um, any of that stuff, hiking, fishing, I guess a little less now that I'm down here, but, I used to play a lot of video games. I feel like I've kind of, it's the same thing with hardcore, right? I feel like it's a young man's game now. I can't keep up with all these kids that play 8 hours of video games a day. They just smash me. So I've quit doing that. I recently got back into reading though, and that has
Wow,
been awesome. So
that's so cool. I do
yeah,
not have the patience for reading anymore. I feel horrible about
I
that.
know it
And
took a little
listen to
bit.
books.
Yeah, it took a little bit until I found a series that just like really pulled me in, and I read each book is like 1,200 pages, and I read 5 of them in like a month and a half. So it was a
Yeah,
problem, but
it's all good.
it's been
I love
nice. So
it.
yeah, what
Okay.
about you?
I mean, I tell you, I lift heavy things and I put them down. I don't,
Gym rat?
I work a lot. So, I am a gym rat, but I work a tremendous amount. And so like sometimes when I say this, I feel this is something I would tell my clients, like, you gotta fix this because I do work like 60 hours a week. Um, and I partly do that because my daughter will be going to college
Mm,
in, in a few months. And, my
Coping
husband lives,
mechanism.
yeah, well, my husband lives in Oregon.
Yeah.
So we go back and forth. And so when no one's around and I said like my house is quiet, I'm here by myself, I end up working. Like
mm,
I work the majority of the time and it's not the best coping mechanism, but I don't know. I love being outside. Like I love it. I mean, I do love working out. Like if that could be my job and just working out, I probably would do it. Um, I used to like to do art. I haven't really done it that much lately. But yeah, I feel bad that I don't do a lot of stuff, but
it's it's really hard to get hobbies when you're older. I mean, it's just
yeah.
hard. I've tried to like get back into stuff that I used to do, and it's just not the same, or I
Yeah.
can't do it as well. Like I tried playing basketball again this year, and like I'm 40 pounds too heavy to be playing ball, and got hurt. So like it's just it's hard to find hobbies that can actually like do what they need to do and not just stress you out more.
Totally. I threw a baseball recently and like I couldn't even throw it. I was like always really good at sports and it's just I'm like straight down in the
Yeah.
ground. I don't even know what I did. So
And you
agree.
somehow throw your back out, and you're like, I just threw a
Right.
baseball, but my back
I
is
sneeze
gone.
and I throw my back out. I don't know
Yeah.
So
That's the absolute worst.
I do think it's important to like say though, like I think having kids and having kids that have a lot of activities, it is hard to figure out how to find yourself and like what you like to do once they're done with all that. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, I don't have to do that anymore. My daughter still does competitive dance, so I still have to do stuff, but she drives herself around and everything. But I think because I spent so much time carting, sorry, I don't know why that went through, carting my kids back and forth to activities that they lost a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I have to figure out what that is again because one day I'll retire.
What are you gonna do? Yeah.
I don't know. I have to figure it out.
So one thing we've tried to do in our family is give our kids like an athletic type outlet, an art outlet, and like intellectual outlet, hobby type things. And
Yeah.
because my kids, like, I grew up just playing sports. It was like sports and music. Like I was playing basketball and all these sports. And then now I look back on my life and it's like, I'm 34 years old and, I can't play an instrument. I'm not good at anything else. And like, this podcast has been really good. This is the hobby. This is how
This
we,
is our hobby.
It is. Yeah.
but I try to do all this stuff for my kids. And then I just sat there looking at myself like, well, but I don't do any of this either. And so like, I really have tried the last year to like find an artistic expression, find an intellectual, thing to, what's the word, like diversify interests and, try and grow. Cause I was doing that with my kids, but I wasn't doing it myself. Cause you just get old and you forget about yourself,
Yeah, that is actually excellent therapeutic advice to give people, is that they should try to do a little bit of all of that.
Looks like Kyle's moving to
Yeah.
Michigan and joining a practice.
I do want to like eventually have the hardcore therapist practice and have other
That'd be
hardcore
cool.
kids have
You can-
other hardcore kids
Listen,
work.
you can only do it if you actually have shows in your therapy space.
I would totally do that. I love that idea.
There we go. We
I
will
gotta
pitch
figure out
in a little bit of money. We'll make it happen. We got you.
I love that. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask me? I feel like I just been yakking away about stuff.
No, you've been great. I do have a question just about the podcast in general, right? So
Sure.
you do 2 episodes a week, right?
Yep.
You do the one episode with a guest,
Yes.
and then you do just one where you get questions from the audience, and then you talk about different therapy related
Yes.
questions. What is the plan kind of going forward? Like, are you going to continue doing the 2 a week? Are you going to divert more towards guest audience, or what do you want to see come out of this?
I would actually love to do it every day, answer a question every day. And then I would love to have a guest on at least once a week. I would love to do my podcast every day. I love it. It's my favorite thing I do.
Awesome.
I love getting to know people and hearing their stories. I think that's the most important thing in this world that we are really missing from connecting with each other, is knowing that our stories are important. And I want to give people an outlet to be able to do that. So that would be my ultimate goal, is to do that with the podcast. I do think it's really important. Sometimes there are questions from like people like from my practice, like someone like one of my clients will ask me, or sometimes people will email me or message me on Instagram a question. And sometimes I just have to come up with something myself. like if there was a theme that kept on happening in my office that week, I was like, this
Talk
might be
about
important to other people. So let's talk about this. So yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I don't think there's enough information. I also don't want to like oversaturate and people be like, oh, here goes Sarah yakking away again. So, I mean, I would love, what I really wanted to do, and I haven't been able to do it, is I wanted to have different experts to also be on the podcast with me. And that would be like, maybe I do a third day and I have it with an expert, like another therapist.
Yeah.
So like, or someone else, like one of my really close friends is a master herbalist.
Sweet.
And we talk a lot about like how we can use herbs as part of a holistic process. Or one of my really good friends is a chaplain, and like talking about like grieving and stuff like that, because like I think that sometimes that's the person you need more than you need a therapist, is a chaplain, because they deal with death a lot more. So those are the kind of things I'd like to do more of that I haven't had time to do it. I mean, I have lots of things I want to do. So
Good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your plan with the podcast?
Make it through the year. I don't know.
We'll
see if we get canceled after this episode.
Listen,
I hope
there is
not.
nothing cancelable. You might not like me. You might think I'm psycho, but was it cancelable? Yeah. Come on, man. But one of the things that you just said that I'll speak for both of us because we talk about it all the time, is people telling their stories. One of the things that Kyle and I always say to each other is we don't care if it's literally only him and I that actually listen to the podcast, because we are getting guests on that we never thought we would have. And just to hear people's stories is incredible. Like, we love hardcore. We love the scene. We want to know about like the different scenes. We want to know about the East Coast. We want to know about the West Coast. We grew up in the Salt Lake bubble. Kyle's now down in Dallas, kind of thing. It has been so much fun. Like,
Yeah,
just
it's amazing.
connecting with people.
Yeah.
For sure. And making so many new friends. Like, that's the coolest thing. Like, now you guys are my friends. You're stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, some of it's been funny because like this brown one right there is now the one below, the brown one on the corner right by my head.
I can't see it.
Yeah, it's With Honor poster, and we had Jay Ost from With Honor on, and I'm like freaking out because I'm like, dude, I got your poster like on my wall, and like just the ability to like, people in hardcore are so cool. Like everyone's just so chill. Like you reached out to us and we were like, we just sit here and think like, why would anyone want to talk to us? We're just a couple of idiots. But like, this is why hardcore is so cool. Cause like, we're just a big community. You could be on the other side of the world, and we probably got into it for the same reasons, and we're here for the same reasons. And we're all, no one's better than anyone. We're all just cool and friends. And it's been an amazing experience. I would like to do a little more from like, I've got some really dumb ideas for like YouTube videos. So I'm hoping that like I can find some time this year to maybe grow a little more of like some sketch comedy ideas that I have centered around the hardcore scene.
The deprecating humor we already talked about, I think.
I'm not going to give any ideas away because they're trade secrets right now. But
sketch idea. Your dad dies. And you all
I totally know what you mean. So like one of the things that I like to do is I do what I call my big ask. I'll ask people, even if I never hear back from them, but I'll ask people that like I might not know in hardcore who've been like big or whatever to be on the podcast. And I've been surprised by some people who have said yes.
Yeah.
And I just love getting to know them. It's so cool. It's like a cool thing. And I think having people know them on a more human level is also a really cool thing, especially like when we idolize people and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, like Walter was on, I'm like embarrassed, like Quicksand's back here. I have like a picture of him over here. I have a Youth of Today thing over here. Like, it's like, hi. Yeah. I know you know I'm a super fan, but
right. Yeah. It's been awesome. And then one of the other big focuses that we've really tried to do is really try to shine some light on some smaller local bands or just local scenes in general. Like that's been one of the big focuses that we've had, especially over the last year, is it seems like probably every other episode or every third episode, we both go and find 2 new bands and we talk about those bands. And the reason we do that is, again, it's the nostalgia kick. That's what we did growing up together. Mm-hmm. We sat in Kyle's basement. We were on MySpace, and it was like, who's in their top 8? Okay, we're going to listen to that, you know?
All these bands.
And oh my God, I looked at my MySpace the other day. By the way, it was still up.
It's still up?
Oh, for real?
I was like, wait, is MySpace still a thing? And I'm like, oh my God, there I am.
That is crazy.
That's awesome, actually. I wonder if
go look at. You should look at your MySpace.
I'm gonna go try to
see
find
if it's still up.
I'm gonna go try.
I'm sorry. I like totally got.
It's
no. Everyone, go check your MySpace right now. We're bringing it back.
I know it's like there's gonna be like a MySpace surge, and everyone's gonna be like,
"Tom, we're friends again."
It was way ahead of its time, like way ahead.
It was. Yeah. It was Friendster though. That was first. Friendster. Do you remember Friendster? Maybe you're too young.
I got into social media with like MSN Messenger was like the first thing online that I did, you know, outside of like some really sketchy gaming chat boards, you know, like
I went on some hardcore chat boards.
Yeah.
Like in the 80s. It was a little crazy. Yes.
A little interesting.
I digressed so hard when you were talking, Trevor. I'm sorry.
No, you're all good.
Just to piggyback on Trevor, like he was saying, a big thing we do is try to find local bands around the country. And so one area that we have not really hit has been Detroit. So I don't know if you know any, and if you don't, find some,
You.
let us know. But if you do, shout out a couple local Detroit bands, and we're gonna go dive into them, see if we can,
Okay.
maybe feature one.
Yeah, here we
Sissy
go.
Boys. Check out the Sissy Boys.
Okay.
Check out Bad Beat. Do you know Bad Beat? Vigilante.
I think I've
I'm
heard
trying
of
to think of
Vigilante.
bands that are not like super big from Detroit. Suffer No Fools, so good. They're actually
I think I've heard them.
they're gonna be not this week, the following week. They're on I kind of stockpile mine. So I interviewed them a while ago, but
Sweet.
they're great.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, those would be my bands right now that I could think of off the top of my head.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Check out Detroit has fantastic hardcore.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure.
And
It's
very
always
different.
It's always had really good hardcore. So.
Yeah, for sure.
So last question I have is, as you're starting to partner with New Age, what's the next festival you're going to, or what's the plan for being in person and being able to meet Sarah?
Yeah, so I'm going to be at Tie Down in Detroit. It's great festival. Super excited about it. We're looking at some other things. So I can't really say yet because they're kind of in the works, but definitely Tie Down. Whenever my husband's band plays, he's in a band. He's in a band that's like a Bay Area Second Coming hardcore. Whenever they play, like I'm always there, and like I'm always out to meet people. Like they actually were making fun of me because when they played at Program, it was like everyone I interviewed was at the show. Come to the show, come see us, come in the show.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
yeah, it was super fun. Yeah, so there for sure, and they have like 3 or 4 other things in the works, but I can't say for sure if they're happening.
That's okay. Yet.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. I'll tell everybody. And are you going to any fest or anything coming up?
I don't know. We were maybe on the fence for Sound and Fury. Well, I was trying to push these guys to go to Sound and Fury. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. We were looking at maybe Furnace Fest again this year, but the lineup didn't seem as good.
It didn't do it for us, unfortunately.
What about the day before Furnace Fest?
That show looks incredible.
That's a possibility. I might be at that show.
We might be trying to figure something out for that as well. So, yeah, that one is a possibility.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff. I mean, I would love to be at This Is Hardcore. I still have to talk to those guys again. I messaged the guys from Sound and Fury. I would love to be there. I made a proposal about like being like for bands or anything who maybe need some more support if they're trying to be sober and stuff like that at different festivals. So
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's great.
So that's cool. You should come to, I don't know if there's tickets left for Tie Down. Tie Down is a great lineup.
We will make it out there at some point.
One day.
Okay.
We're like right now, again, kids' ages and stuff like that.
Oh, no,
it's like
it's so hard.
one a year. And it's like, where are we going this year kind of thing?
Yeah, so. Detroit wins yet. But, Delta, Salt Lake to Detroit is no biggie.
Yeah, I think that's actually a direct, isn't it? I think it's very simple.
It is. Yeah, my brother is actually, he's a flight attendant for Delta, and he's based in Salt
Lake. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to have him.
Is Tied Down Tied Down's not in the winter, is it?
No, it's in June. It's the first weekend in June.
I'm allergic to cold weather, so all right.
Gross. I know. I wouldn't want to be here in the winter.
Not doing
he left Utah, and then it snowed more in Dallas this year than it did in Utah.
No, it didn't, dude. It's been like 80 degrees the last 2 weeks. So,
all right.
Yeah.
It's been so good. Anything else? I'm trying to think. Is there anything else that you want to make sure people know that hear my podcast about your podcast? How do people get a hold of you?
Instagram.
I know we've been talking through through Instagram.
The gram.
Yeah.
We're on Instagram, TikTok. I mean, we're on all the social medias. We really primarily check Instagram. You can always email us, thepitTherapy@gmail.com.
Cool.
So yeah, talking about the local bands, if you are listening to this and are in a local band, shoot us your stuff. We get kind of backed up with stuff, but man, we try our best to listen to everything and feature it and talk about it when we can. So we have talked about a bunch of local bands that have reached out to us. one band we're super good friends with now called Heavy's the Head out of Virginia. Awesome group of guys. He reached out to us, was like, hey, I want to talk to you guys. And, it's been awesome being friends with them. So if you're a local band and you're listening to this, hit us up. We try to help as much as we can to help promote. So
That's
Instagram.
awesome.
Yeah. Pit
Love
Therapy, I think is what it is.
Pretty sure.
Yeah. And if people want to get a hold of me, it's Instagram. It's The Hardcore Therapist. My website, The Hardcore Therapist. And you can email me at thehardcoretherapist@gmail.com. And I also want to just say, if you were to buy any of my merch, all proceeds go to underinsured and uninsured people for mental health help.
It's awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Oh,
much.
great to be with you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya.